Well, my next guest is exploring vulnerable ecosystems through an especially fragile photographic process. Here to tell us more about his latest showcase is Matt Keene. He's a journalist, adventurer, and conservation photographer. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you, Ann. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
Of course, and congrats on your new exhibition. It's called Echoes of the Wild. It's at the Lightner Museum in St. Augustine. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about what the images are.
So, this is a collection of images that I've made throughout the Southeast United States using a process called the wet plate collodion, wet plate photographic process. It's a historic photographic process that was most used between the 1850s and 1890s. And these are a collection of photos of mostly conservation areas throughout the Southeast. So, landscapes and riverscapes, the St. Johns River, the Ocklawaha, the Econlockhatchee, the Okefenokee Swamp.
Yeah. And so for people who are watching our live stream, you'll be able to see some of these images. Matt, these are, when you're up close to them and you can kind of tell looking at the images here, they're what we often describe as tintypes.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, the tintypes were the most commercially uh, photo type of photography in the late 19th century. This was the first process that the ordinary family could go out and have their picture taken. But it was also a process that was used to make glass negatives and to make prints through that. So photographers were making glass plates of wild areas that weren't even conserved yet, and taking these glass plates to show to legislators to push for conservation of areas.
Oh, wow. So there is sort of a historical element to the conservation angle that you've taken in your photos. This is not an easy process. Describe to us a little bit because it requires essentially like a portable darkroom, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So anytime I go to take a photograph, I have to have my darkroom and my supplies pretty close to me. It has to be within about a 5 minute walk or so of where I'm actually taking a photograph. So I bring a portable darkroom. I bring all of my chemistry. I mix my chemistry using recipes from the 19th century. So I try to keep it pretty true to the historic process. I bring all of the supplies that are needed, trays, all of the materials. So, for instance, my aluminum or glass that I'm shooting on, and it takes a while to set that up and break it down. So, if I'm out for 3 or 4 hours, I might end up taking 2 or 3 photographs in that time.
Wow. And why is it necessary to have the darkroom handy? What is it about the process that requires this sort of immediacy?
So that's a great question. This is the basically the last photographic process where you had to have a darkroom with you. Because it's called wet plate collodion, what it means is that the plate of film that I'm using must remain wet throughout the entire process that I'm making the photograph. That includes processing it. So that's about an hour of washing after the plate's finally after the photograph's been exposed. In about the late 1890s, early 1900s, they began to come out with what were called dry plates, and those were a new type of photographic plate that allowed you to basically load the plate into a darkened plate holder and take those plates with you and make photographs without all of this additional equipment. Then you could take it, and so right about that time, basically this process just about totally died out. Because of its fidelity, it was still being used in for scientific purposes up until the 1950s. But as soon as people could take a photograph and not have to have the darkroom with them, they just about totally abandoned the process.
So I guess that begs the question, why would you do this? It requires all of this extra labor. It limits the kind of the production, the amount of photos that you can take and produce in the field. Why did you want to begin using this kind of technique?
It's a great question. I think it ties back to what I mentioned earlier about the history of conservation with this process. To me, there's a legacy there that I'm able to continue, that I'm able to use the just about the exact same method that was used 150 plus years ago to promote similar concepts and to provide people with an opportunity to kind of explore uh, some of these special areas that we have down here. I love to make things. To me, this is I make everything that's involved with it. I cut my plates, I pour them, I do all the developing for them. I love documenting things. I love art and I love adventure. So this is it kind of ties all of those things together for me.
I mean, thematically, it works as well. You're talking about a process that is, by its very nature, you know, um, imperiled, sort of. I mean, the process is vulnerable to all kinds of, outside elements, to degradation. Um, it is something that really
100%.
needs to kind of be protected and taken care of while you're processing it, and so it lends itself to the theme of conservation.
I 100% agree. I actually, will even use, for instance, when I'm photographing riverscapes, I'll use the local river water to mix my chemistry with
Wow.
because I feel that it, imparts something into the actual physical presence of the photograph in a way that you wouldn't have, if, for instance, you were using distilled water.
It seems like that could add a whole other, unknown variable to the process.
It does.
Yeah, and so you also have a studio downtown in St. Augustine, and it is an opportunity for people who wanna have their portrait taken or have some kind of photograph taken, where they can do that, but you also show them this process. It's an opportunity for people to come away with an image, but they also get to see you at work and see this wet plate in action.
Exactly, it's very dynamic, I love sharing it, I love sharing the history and how these are made. People get to see everything from me pouring the plates to, the image coming out in the fixer, and for me, because this was this first commercial photographic process, it was really the first equitable photographic process. It's the first, process that the ordinary family could go out and afford to have their picture taken.
Hmm.
So I love kind of being able to contribute to that as well, to keep it going and to keep this as I'm in a college town, so I like seeing college students come in and know that they can still be able to afford to have this, like, timeless photograph of themselves taken.
And we should say that you're bearing a little evidence of the production, that your hands are kind of
I,
stained from it, and that's something that comes from the silver?
It is, yeah, the silver tends to stain anything organic, it lasts a few days. I try to be as cleanly as possible, but when I work a lot in the process, it
Shows
does.
that you're in the lab, that's right, it just shows that you're at work. Well, the exhibit is called Echoes of the Wild, it's at the Lightner Museum, it runs through January 18th, we've got info about that on our website, but Matt Keene, it's great to see you again, thanks, congrats on the show.
Thank you so much.